call upon stage the Honorable Consul General, Ms. Melinda Pavek. Please. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I would request our Regional President, Mr. Anup Acharya, to please come up on stage. May I also request Dr. Sujoy Biswas, President-elect for EIC the 2022-23, to come up on stage, please. I would also request Mr. R.K.Jhanjhar, our Senior Vice President, EIC, to kindly join us on stage, please. So without further ado, I would like to hand over the microphone to Mr. Anup Acharya to open the evening for all of us. Please enjoy and be with us for cocktails and dinner thereafter.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Honorable Consul General, Ms. Melinda Pavek, immediate past President, Mr. Kapil Kaul, who could not make his presence today due to some unavoidable circumstances, but my wishes to him. I'm extremely thankful to our Consul General for taking out her precious time at very short notice request. It's always pleasing to see family together. And today, IACC, EIC family members have assembled together to meet and greet on this annual convention at the backdrop of Bijoya. And I like Bijoya Sammilini of IACC. It should be called like that. And I must thank to staff of EIC for carrying out the things in best possible manner despite so much constraints. When we talk of IACC, it is not only chamber of business people looking for only trade. It's something bigger than that. It represents the relationship of India and US as a whole. When we talk about Indo-US relationship, it's not about strategic relationship based upon geopolitics. It's the relationship between two most vibrant democracies. And there are multiple areas to work together to strengthen our relationship further, such as trade, technology, people-to-people relationship, Indian diaspora, health, education, climate, research, cultural exchange, and above all, human value. We have submitted our proposal to him, which was acknowledged, and I am hopeful we as a chamber, in association with the Office of Consulate General, will work hand in hand for the interests of citizens of both the countries. I would request the Consul General to enlighten us today where and how we as a chamber can associate and make the visa facilitation for US smooth and fast for the members of our chamber. This is the area currently having contentions respect to the time frame. I would like to thank Mr. Kaul. Indeed, he is not present over here as immediate national president for taking up the campaign of climate change and putting all efforts to make everyone aware with the importance of it in much needed time. I would like to thank Mr. Barun Banerjee, past President EIC, and Mr. Vasant Subramaniam, National Past President, who convinced me and brought me to take the charge of presidency of EIC. Thank you for your belief and trust you bestowed upon me. I would like to thank Mr. Mridul Pathak, Senior Patron Member of ISCC, for all his moral support and belief you had. Thank you, Dada. Finally, I would like to thank Ms. Zarina Mukherjee, Executive Secretary EIC, Ms. Lakshmi Roy, Executive Member Relation, and Ms. Mitra Bhattacharya Accounts for all their contribution and support extended. Carry out the good job and you are doing for the prosperity of the chamber. I welcome Dr. Biswas, our new president of ISCC EIC, and Mr. R.K.Jhanjhar as a new vice president of ISCC EIC to take over the charge and the new executive committee members from here onwards. Wish you all the best. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Acharya, I would like you to stay on stage, please, and present Melinda with a bouquet. And Melinda, may I please request you to accept the bouquet and say a few words, please. A big round of applause, please. Thank you, Melinda. Request you to please say a few words on the occasion.
Mr. Acharya, Dr. Biswas, Mr. Chajor, members of the IAC Eastern Region, it is so wonderful to be here this evening. Shubho Bijoya. Thank you for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for serving as the 2021-2022 Regional President and for leading IAC's efforts to strengthen and deepen the U.S.-India economic relationship in Eastern India through a challenging and exciting year. Mr. Acharya, thank you so much also for your partnership during the Bengal Global Business Summit this past year. It really was a wonderful opportunity for us to bring people together to identify how the U.S. and India can work in the future. Congratulations, Dr. Biswas. I wish you the very best as you take on the role of IACC's regional president for the coming year. IACC plays an important role in the U.S.-India partnership and business ties, and we at the consulate are happy to support you in your endeavors. As you have probably heard me say in the past, the growth in the U.S.-India economic ties has been extraordinary. The trade between our two great democracies multiplied by 7 within a span of only 18 years. Looking at the numbers, trade in 2001 was about $20 billion, and it went up to over $145 billion by 2019. Despite 2 years of pandemic, our trade numbers were more than $113 million in 2021. And for the first 6 months of 2022, overall bilateral trade stood at $67 billion, with U.S. exports to India at $23 billion and Indian exports to the United States at $44 billion. U.S. companies also play a critical role through their unparalleled contributions to research and development, personnel training and development of local managers, and incorporation of Indian inputs into the crucial global supply chains. Our bilateral relationship is one of mutual benefit. Just as U.S. companies have invested in India, Indian companies have made great strides in investing in the United States. According to the latest data, the stock of Indian foreign direct investment in the United States is at $12.7 billion, supporting more than 70,000 U.S. jobs, $126 million in research and development, and $2.1 billion in U.S. exports. To further strengthen our bilateral economic ties, we would like to continue to work with IACC members through our Select USA program and help them successfully invest in the United States. I learned that you have partnered with our FCS office to send a delegation to the 2019 Select USA Summit. In 2022, India sent nearly 140 delegates to the Select USA Summit. It was the largest delegation ever from India and made India the second largest worldwide delegation. Recognizing that we must move beyond our traditional free trade agreements, we are charting new economic arrangements to deepen economic engagement with our partners, like the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, IPEF, that I'm sure that you have read about in the media. U.S. Trade Representative Tai and Secretary of Commerce Raimondo hosted the 13 IPEF partner economies, representing over 40% of the global economy, at the first official in-person ministerial meeting in Los Angeles on September 8th and 9th. IPEF is an innovative economic arrangement designed to advance resilience, sustainability, inclusiveness, economic growth, fairness, and competitiveness for our economies. Ministers had positive and constructive discussions and announced ministerial statements outlining the scope of future negotiations, a substantial milestone in their pursuit of a high standard and inclusive economic framework. It has been a long, hot summer in many parts of the world, and we have watched the devastation caused by hurricanes in Puerto Rico and Florida, demonstrating that climate change is not a future thing, it is a now thing. On June 17th, President Biden reconvened the leaders of the Major Economies Forum on Energy and Climate to further galvanize action to combat climate change. Citing international scientific assessments that urgently underscored the narrowing window for decisive action, President Biden urged leaders to step up their climate efforts and achieve further progress at COP27 in November, less than a month away now, in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. MEF leaders representing 23 countries that altogether account for roughly 80% of global GDP and 80% of greenhouse gas emissions agreed to join new efforts aimed at tackling the climate crisis while advancing energy security and food security. These efforts include, among other initiatives, putting more zero-emission vehicles on the road and decarbonizing ocean-based shipping. During the COVID pandemic, we weren't able to recruit people into those jobs, and therefore we have a significant reduction in staffing. We're currently at about 60% of our traditional staffing. We have been hiring people and training them as quickly as we can, but the reality is that it's still going to take us a little bit more time. However, while we've been waiting to get new people into our visa lines so that we can open more and more appointments, we have also been asking for additional authorities, and some of those authorities have allowed us to do things a little different. For example, we've changed the number of interview waiver or Dropbox categories that are accessible. We have also figured out how to mobilize the visa officers that we have in China and other countries where COVID lockdowns are still keeping people from traveling. And so some of the visa interviews, some of the visa paperwork that's coming into India is being processed in other countries. And so we're really doing as much as we can to use the staff that we have creatively and innovatively. That has allowed us to open new appointments. We announced about 100,000 new H&L worker appointments opened over the last couple of weeks. And that means that people who are working in the United States or have been working in the United States and would like to come home to travel and visit their families are going to be able to get appointments much more quickly than they would have before we opened those appointments. But it is still going to take us some time. We have been prioritizing visa categories in order to respond to the categories that are the most time sensitive. Therefore, you would see that we had our largest historic issuance of student visas this summer at 82,000 students issued. That meant that we had to really focus a lot of our efforts on meeting the needs of those students at the time so that they could get to school in time to start their September classes. We have now transitioned that capacity to other things like the worker visas, which we hear from companies all over the world, and especially in the United States, that they need their workers to be able to travel. So we've prioritized that as our next priority. Next, we will then be opening up again to more and more interview waiver appointments and more first-time B1, B2 appointments. We are projecting that by next summer, we will be closer to our traditional wait times, and by the end of next year, with these additional authorities and additional staffing, that we will actually be exceeding our 2019 visa numbers, and we will be completely caught up. Now, I'm going to knock on wood there because that's a prediction. I don't want to jinx whatever the world is, whatever the universe is listening to. But we are working very hard. Now, for members of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and other organizations, if you have a time-sensitive, specific business meeting that requires you to travel or a member of your team to travel, we do have opportunities to expedite a very limited number of appointments. Unfortunately, we don't have the capacity right now to expedite travel for family vacations or people other than the business traveler, except in very specific emergency appointments like medical emergencies. So in the event that you do have a time-sensitive, very specific business purpose to travel, please do feel free to contact me based on my email address, and we will do what we can. But I ask you to first, please do book something through our online system. Our online system has the capacity that once you have a booking, it can be preponed. And that means that as we open more appointments, it's very possible you'll be able to prepone your original appointment. But it helps us to make the case to Washington that we have an extreme number of appointments if they are in the system. So please help us help you by allowing us to have the statistics and analysis that allow us to demonstrate to Washington that we need even more resources in order to meet the demand that we have here. So thank you very much for being here. I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you so much, Melinda. I would request you to stay on a minute, please, and welcome our new president, Dr. Sujoy Biswas, president of the Eastern Region for 22-23. Congratulations, sir. Thank you, Melinda. I would also request our regional president, Mr. Anup Acharya, to please come up and present the bouquet to our vice president, Mr. R.K.Jhanjhar. Big round of applause, please. Mr. Acharya, please stay on. Dr. Biswas, I request you to present a bouquet to our outgoing president, Mr. Anup Acharya. Thank you so much for everything, sir. Thank you.
When it's me, it cannot be few words, so require 5 to 7 minutes time. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged that evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is just employer. He gives you what you ask. But once you have set the wages, why? You must bear the task. I worked for a menial hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life, life would have paid. It's a poem by J.C.B. Rittenhouse called My Wage. And we are here to make a difference. A very good evening to everyone. Thanks to entire EIC committee for bestowing me the chance. I would like to thank the persons that I'm really indebted to. Beginning with Anupji. Anupji is younger to me in age, but he has been an elder brother and a mentor. I didn't knew him before he became the president at all. And now it seems that I know him totally and have received all the inputs, whether it's criticism for me, whether it's good things for me, but totally open-hearted. I would next like to thank my friend, ex-president Dinesh Agarwal. He's a partner, Tax and Regulatory Services, Ernst & Young. Actually, Dinesh inducted me into the Eastern India Council team. And Dinesh has been a classmate in South Point, in the same class, in the same section in South Point. So, thank you, Dinesh. Then Borunda Banerjee inducted me into EIC. After you, Borunda inducted me as the second vice president. You inducted me in the committee. So, no less thanks to Borunda. Then I'd like to add Mr. Jhanjhar. He had been with us, with Mr. Anup Acharya and me, supporting us in anything that we needed to during this time. And Anupji, the beauty of Anupji was, he came at a time when nothing was happening. Because 2 years of COVID, everything was, and he made ICC relevant again. A good round of applause for Anup Acharya for making it happen. I cannot thank him enough. One person I forgot to thank last time, and he's the only person whom I know for more than 2 decades and visited a house in the United States. He's none other than Mridul Pathak. And Mridul, I'm very sorry sincerely sorry that I Forgot to mention your name last time. Then another person keep on meeting every platform, small and big. He's a colorful person. You may think that he gives only life-saving medicines, but he's a very colorful person with his medicines. None other than my Rajuda, my own Rajuda, Raju Khandelwal. A good round of applause for Rajuda. I don't know all of them. But I would take this opportunity, Jhanjhar Saab, to propose the name of Abhishek Kankaria, the second Vice President. If you forward, then we'll accept that in that. Thanks, Abhishek is not there, I think, today. Then Zarina Mukherjee, who did all this good job, and Lakshmi Roy, who actually phoned me and said that Dinesh is your classmate and one you don't come in IACC. I think it doesn't work. Then Mitra. Rajlakshmi, I just met her, and I think that Mr. Nahata had been a source of strength for all the time. Mr. Parijat Chakravarty, my partner and my director of my consulting firm, V&P Engineering, through which I am a member of this, though I represent Techno India also. Falling out any names? I do not know all of them. Shamush Siddhi is there. Thank you, Shamush Siddhi, for everything. Look forward for your support in all times to come. Don't misunderstand me. I'm a very connected person in the media. So, at the very onset, I would also like to thank the chief guest. Now, start with Mr. Melinda Pavek, Consul General US, for his esteemed presence and the time that you have given us, and the sari that you have worn. It makes our Vija, the IACC Vija, you are such a wonderful, nice, and beautiful person. And you carry the sari so well that it makes the Vijay successful, Vijay Sammelan successful IICC. And the credit goes to Anupji for lingering on that, making your presence sure. I have already said the outgoing president, Mr. Anup Agarwal, Mr. Jhanjhar, the ex-national president, the immediate past national president, Mr. Kaul is not there, and all members of EIC for bestowing the responsibility of regional president of IICC. I will leave no stone, I pledge here that I will leave no stone unturned to carry out my duties to the best of my ability. Jhanjhar Saab, Melinda Madam, and Anupji. I look forward for the wholehearted cooperation of the Senior Vice President, the Second Vice President, and all members of the East India Council. Before I start to share my views, as the incoming President of ICC, I would like to spell a prayer which I do every morning and will like to do the moment I have taken care of been bestowed the position of the President. It's called the Prayer of Serenity, which says, God grant me the serenity to accept things which I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference between what I can and what I cannot. Let the Almighty and all of you bless me with the strength to go ahead in the coming year. I keep on reminding myself 2 lines of a Robert Frost poem, which is called Road Not Taken, and it says, and I quote, 2 roads diverged in a wood. 2 roads diverged in wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So I want to take a different route altogether. As I prepared the IICC address for today, because Melinda Madam will be there, I did some study too, just to ensure that I am at par with the knowledge of what is happening in the Indo-US front. Give me a 5 minutes time, because I need to be sure that whether I know the right stuff or not. The Indo-US-India Strategic Partnership is founded on shared values, including a commitment to democracy and upholding the rules-based international system. Right from the time of Swami Vivekananda addressing the Americans and brothers and sisters with our beautiful ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the United States and India have been sharing human value system and ideas of progress of our race and the survival of Mother Earth. The world has seen a black swan even in the last 2 years, and our 2 countries have worked tirelessly for fighting the pandemic and emerging victorious. Our shared interest in promoting global security, stability, economic prosperity through trade, investment, and connectivity makes us the harbingers of democracy in the present day and age. I found that the India-US relationship blossomed during the time when the President Clinton was there during his second term, and it was the close of his second term when he came to India in the year 2000, end of 2000, and in his last year of presidency. We have till from them worked with 5 presidents, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden. We can't think of 5 people more different from each other who have disagreed amongst themselves in a whole lot of issues in home and abroad, but have been singularly consistent in the manner in which they have sought to engage India and enhance our relationship. President Biden have been around for a very long time and has been a pivot in the growth of the relationship with India for a long time from different positions in different offices that he held. He has seen the evolution of this relationship. Biden's administration is an extraordinarily experienced administration. If you look at the Secretary of State, the NSA, the Director of CIA, the Secretary of Defense, these pivotal people have worked in multiple administrations and know their work, collectively determined to go ahead in a developing ahead. It's not easy for the most powerful country in the world to be necessarily sensitive and necessarily adjusting. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your country and your president and your whole gamut for supporting us. Quad is working well, not since all the pillars are strong, but US is showing the flexibility and understanding to make the Quad work well. President Biden and Prime Minister Modi have held several multi-bilateral meetings during which they reaffirmed their commitment to a resilient, rules-based international order that safeguards sovereignty and territorial integrity, upholds democratic values, and promotes peace and prosperity for all. Together with Australia, Japan, and United States and India, convene as the Quad to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific and provide tangible benefits to the region. The United States supports India's emergence as a leading global power and a vital partner in efforts to safeguard the Indo-Pacific as a region of peace, stability, and growing prosperity. The strong people-to-people ties between our countries reflect in the 4 million strong Indian-American diaspora, and a vibrant exchange between the two countries are a tremendous source of strength for strategic partnerships in various domains of common interest. The United States and India have cooperated in a plenty of bilateral dialogues and working groups which spans across all aspects of human endeavor from space, health, energy, defense, and high technology trade. These include the US-India Counterterrorism Joint Working Group, which was established in the year 2000, as well as Strategic Clean Energy Partnership, Climate Action, Finance Mobilization Dialogue, Cyber Dialogue, Civil Space Working Group, the Education and the Skills Development Working Group, Trade Policy Forum, Defense Policy Forum, and Counternetics Working Group. Coming to economic relations, you already mentioned, I'll just repeat. In 2021, overall US-India bilateral trade goods and services, as I found from stats, was $157. The United States is India's largest trading partner and most important export market. Bilateral trade in goods between the two countries crossed $100 billion in 2021, making it the largest volume of goods and trade in calendar year in the US economic history. In fact, we are with trade surplus with the United States. This also represents an almost 45% jump from 2020, and while US trade with its top 15 partners increased over the past year, the single biggest jump was with India. Many US companies view India as a critical market and have expanded their operations there. Likewise, Indian companies seek to increase their presence in US markets, and at the end of 2020, Indian investment in the United States totaled $12.7 billion, creating more than 70,000 American jobs. The nearly 2 lakh Indian students in the United States contribute about $7.7 billion to the US economy. As far as international cooperation is concerned, India and United States cooperate closely, you have mentioned, at multilateral organizations, including the United Nations, G20 Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or the ASEAN Regional Forum, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, World Trade Organization. The United States welcomed India joining the UN Security Council in 2021 for a 2-year term and supports a reformed UN Security Council that will include India as a permanent member. India is also one of the 12 countries partnering with the United States on the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, as you said, IPF, to make our economics more connected, resilient, and transparent. Both the countries realize the importance of sustainability goals, the 17 SDGs, for the environment and the human race, and are constantly endeavoring to work together in various ventures of clean energy, food production, traditional knowledge, social and economic justice for every human on the earth. Now, coming to the role of IICC, we pledge on behalf of the entire EIC that in the next few years, our two countries can reach together greater heights of symbiosis through organizations such as ours. It would be an honor to initiate and consolidate ventures in many areas of strategic and sustainable business, keeping in mind social responsibility and education for the entire world. Utilization of IoT for promoting knowledge and research in health, nutrition, environment, diplomacy, connectivity, and human dignity becomes paramount for a better future of the world. Our countries constitute almost, both our countries together, constitute almost a fourth of the world population. And the way we nurture our people and provide opportunities to all can be a springboard for all others to join in a wealth creation and its judicious use for the benefits of the planet and all its inhabitants to make the earth a better place to live in. So those are my thoughts, because I keep on saying that good thoughts lead to good actions lead to good habits lead to good character, and good character leads to good destiny. Before I conclude, I would like to say that when there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in the character. When there is beauty in the character, there is order in the nation. When there is order in the nation, then only there is peace in the world. Just before ending, I would like to say that before I came to Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, I didn't know that how it's promoting the Indian business person. The relevance, I worked in the United States from 2001 onwards. I was placed in Baltimore in Washington, and our company used to work for the Pentagon. And I traveled several times. In fact, I joined Techno India and went to Mridulda's place also a number of times. But somehow the working in the American was not very visible, which Anupji had brought it up. And I refused to give up. And I think that Anupji is going to help us in our mission. And Jhanjharji, being such a senior person, will be there. And Abhishekji will be there along with all the members. And I will like to end with a poem which speaks. You know that I keep myself calling a motivational speaker or inspirational speaker. And this poem is called Don't Quit by Edgar Albert Guest. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stanzas, and it would take 2 minutes for that. It says, and I quote, "When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you are trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, where care is pressing down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns, and many a failure turns about when you might have won if you had stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow, you might succeed with another blow. Often the struggler has given up when he had won the victor's cup, and he learned too late when the night slipped down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of clouds of doubt, and you never know how close you are. You may be near, but it seems so far. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. It's when things seem worse. We are not going to quit. We are going to make it happen. We are going to make ISSC relevant again, as it has been perpetuated by Mr. Acharya. Will take it forward. A pledge from my end. I think Jhanjharji and all will go into support. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Biswas. That was indeed wonderful. And congratulations once again, sir. 1 year with you now, from now on. So I would like to briefly introduce our present committee members for 22-23. This year we have the committee headed by Dr. Biswas and Mr. R.K.Jhanjhar as the President and Vice President of the region for 22-23. Briefly about Dr. Biswas, he is the Director and CEO of Techno India University and Techno India Group, one of the largest educational conglomeration of India. He is also the Chairman and Managing Director of VNP Engineering Education and Management Consultants LLP. Mr. R.K.Jhanjhar is the Chairman of Akbak Forgecast Private Limited. I believe right now Mr. Acharya can say a few words and welcome Mr. Jhanjhar to kindly close the evening with his words and acceptance of Vice Presidency. Welcome, sir. A round of applause, please.
Thank you, Zarina, for introducing me. Few more words than I would have wanted it to be like. So I take this opportunity of thanking a formal vote of thanks. But before I do that, I would just like to say a few words on what our outgoing President, Mr. Acharya, said and what the Honorable CG has said. The trade and the business with America has grown multifold. And we assure you that as Indians, we look forward of doubling it in the next 5 years, because there is a big vacuum which has come in the world order. And you know what I mean, what I'm trying to hint at. And India is in the rightful space at this point in time to be able to fill up that. And not only in commodities, but everything that is possible which can be exported from India will be exported to USA. Getting from USA, as Dr. Biswas mentioned, that we have a surplus of trade, but I would like to be it on the negative side so far as USA is concerned, for the simple reason that we have lot of technologies to be imported from USA, which has still not been coming because of different reasons. World order was different, but as the world order changes, I look forward that we'll be getting more and more technology, especially in space thing, then in maybe nuclear powers and all such things. We should be getting more and more from you. India and USA both are very vibrant democracies, the largest and the oldest. And we take pride that although we have come late on the scene so far as USA is concerned, but now our arrival is full. And the kind of attention that our PM Modi has been getting for the last 5-6 years, whenever he has visited, or whenever the President of US has visited us, it calls that we have been admitted as one of the major sources of cooperation between our two countries. It was very nice of Melinda CG that to mention that they will be looking forward for the visa. But on the lighter note, when she mentioned that they have some issues regarding the manpower, so we have few unemployment. If it can be pushed for the time being, we will not mind that. On the lighter note, of course, because it's a very confidential job and it requires a lot of security clearances. But it was very nice of you to have mentioned that if anything comes for a business traveler to visit immediately, it will be taken care of. We are thankful to you for that. Now it's my turn to give a formal vote of thanks. Thank you, Honorable CG, to be able to grace the occasion at a very short notice, as our President said. Thank you, Mr. Acharya. Thank you very much. For the past 1 year, the amount of work he has been able to do, because post-COVID and before that, ISCC Eastern region was not as vibrant as we have been able to make it in the last 1 year. We have had a couple of very good programs, but we have been in action. And the good part is that Mr. Acharya is now going to the National Council also. So we'll have his presence to guide us and push our cases whenever is required. So our man is there. As we always say that our man has to be in Delhi somewhere. So he is in Mumbai. So it's a very good thing. Thank you, Dr. Biswas. And I look forward very closely working with you in this new committee. And whatever Mr. Acharya has done in the last 1 year, we will take it forward with more vigor and more enthusiasm, so as to be able that when I take over the presidency next year, I will have more challenges to meet, so that we sent a bigger benchmark. So with this small I would request all of you to please carry it with great applause for all our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chhajar. Thank you, everyone. I would request the four of you to please come up front for a photograph. And I would request our committee members present as well as the newly inducted to please come up on stage for a photograph with everyone.